Good day to all of you. Yesterday we talked about Coleridge as the father of Impressionistic criticism and how he introduced philosophy and psychology into literary criticism. And we also saw how Coleridge revolutionized the concept of imagination. And today I'll talk about how Coleridge stressed upon the organic wholeness of a poem. It was Coleridge who, for the first time, resolved the age old problem of the relation between the form and content of poetry. Through his philosophical inquiry into the nature and value of poetry, he established that a poem is an organic whole and that its form is determined by its content and is essential to that content. Thus, meter and rhyme, he showed, are not merely pleasures superadded, not merely something superfluous which can be dispensed with, not mere decoration, but essential to that pleasure which is the true poetic pleasure. This demonstration of the organic wholeness of a poem is one of his major contributions to literary theory. Now, another contribution of his is Coleridge's concept of willing suspension of disbelief. Now, this term, willing suspension of disbelief, was coined by Coleridge and used in his Biographia Literaria, and it makes a significant advance over earlier theories on the subject. His view that during the perusal or reading or examining or analysis of a poem or the witnessing of a play, there is neither belief nor disbelief, but a mere suspension of disbelief. Now, what is this concept of willing suspension of disbelief? Now, when Coleridge, who was a poetic and aesthetic philosopher, when he introduced this term in 1877, he suggested that if a writer could infuse a human interest and a semblance of truth into a fantastic tale, fantastic means something that is not real, fantastic tale, the reader would suspend judgment concerning the implausibility. Implausibility means the unlikeliness or the failure to convince, the implausibility of the narrative. And so Coleridge sought to revive the use of fantastic elements in poetry and develop a concept to support how a modern enlightened audience might continue to enjoy such type of literature. This term resulted from a philosophical experiment which Coleridge had conducted with Wordsworth within the context of the creation and reading of poetry. It involved an attempt to explain the supernatural persons or characters so that these creatures of imagination constitute some semblance of truth. So, this was his concept of willing suspension of disbelief. But it may be mentioned that Coleridge's views being too philosophical, he was a critic who was not easy to understand. And Coleridge's aesthetics did not much appeal to a generation of Victorians to whom no system of aesthetics was of much interest. It is only in the 20th century that his literary criticism has been truly understood and recognition and appreciation have followed. Today, his reputation stands very high, and many go to him for inspiration and illumination. Thank you.